London Borough of Ealing Housing Department decided to rehouse the former private tenant after a vice resolution got confirmation with truthful evidence from the Environmental Health Regulatory Department on the conclusion, inspection and examination about the dwelling property at 87 Castle Road, Northolt, Ealing, UB5 4SF, did confirm the tenancy has identified as illegally let by the regulatory service officer, rendering the tenant agreement contract as invalid from the date it was let by Brian John Watson, the landlord let to the private tenant on August 16, 1997. Brian John Watson decided to refund the former tenant his full deposit of £150 on November the 10th, 2020, after 23 years of illegal tenancy agreement contract, which was total invalid, did not have an HMO license. Mr. Watson, the criminal landlord, is attempting to deny such criminality, running scams, and covering up wrongdoing on the legal room let, which was measured at 3.88, measured 2 at 87 Castle Road, Northolt, Ealing, UB5 4SF. The landlord was floating HMO license regulation to the tenant as a Procedural Crime Act 2002, Section 76, Paragraph 4. This include conspiracy to cover up the legal room and dishonesty with fraud for 23 years since August 16, 1997. The tenant finally left the dwelling property of 87 Castle Road after 23 years. That was confirmed by London Borough of Ealing Housing Department after receiving evidence of the inspection report from the Environmental Health Regulatory Department on November the 5th, 2020. The Regulatory Service Officer from London Borough of Ealing Environmental Health Regulatory further said, Mr. Watson, the landlord, created an illegal tenancy agreement contract with the tenant, which was invalid from the date of August 16, 1997, for 23 years, operated without an HMO license. Brian John Watson, the rogue and criminal landlord, committed various criminal offences on Section 72 in relation to HMO licensing, Section 95 in relation of selective licensing of other residential accommodation, on Section 234, Paragraph 3, offensive under the Management Regulation of the Housing Act 2004. This include Housing Health and Safety Rating System on Section 239, Paragraph 6 of the Housing Act 2004 by benefiting from the Procedural Crime Act 2002, Section 76, Paragraph 4. As a result, Mr. Watson, the criminal landlord of 53 Church Drive, North Harrow, HA27NR, breached the Housing Act 2004 in relation to the Housing Health and Safety Rating System, contravened the right of the tenants by abusing them on their right to dignity. The tenant was granted an exit from the dwelling property of 87 Castle Road after UB5 4SF after 23 years of bad housing and the illegal tenancy by London Borough of Ealing Housing Department, confirmed the submission report confirmed by the Regulatory Service Officer related to inspection and examination of the dwelling property that took place under Part 1 to Part 4 of the Housing Act 2004 under Section 239, Paragraph 6 on October the 29th, 2020. Brian John Watson, the abusive and criminal landlord, paused, whined and screamed in protest, said The inspection and examination report on the dwelling property at 87 Castle Road, Northolt, Ealing, UB5 4SF on October the 29th has been a total stitch-up against me. This is a serious witch hunt by the private tenant who make me look very bad indeed, that I've been described as a criminal and a rogue landlord, which is inaccurate indeed. It's not true. My reputation as a landlord being ruined. I've done nothing wrong by denying the illegal room let of 3.88 measure 2 for 23 years since August 16, 1997. Mr. Watson covered up by lying about the illegal tenancy agreement and the invalid contract on August 16, 1997 stated by claiming he had the correct documentation papers with a valid HMO license that he gave a running commentary on October the 28th, 2020 in this court saying, I was obeying the law on the said housing regulation. This include the Housing, Health and Safety Rating System of the Housing Act 2004, also had a valid HMO license for 23 years since August 16, 1997 as accredited private landlord in London Borough of Ealing. The advice resolution represent the client became involved, notify London Borough of Ealing Environmental Health Regulatory Department that led to the inspection and examination of the property at 87 Castle Road, Northolt, Ealing, UB5 4SF by the Regulatory Service Officer named by Mr. Khalid Mahmood on October the 29th, 2020. Brian John Watson breached the Public Health Act 1936, Occupier Liability Act of 1957, Defective Premises Act of 1972, the Occupier Liability Act of 1984, Housing Act of 1985, Section 325 and Section 326, Landlord and Tenant Act of 1985, Section 11, of which are express covenant, Environmental Protection Act 1990, Section 79, Housing Act 2004, Health and Safety Rating System. This includes Section 239 of the Housing Act, Housing and Planning Act 2016, which it had no HMO license. It had 6 people living in the premises on Section 254, and the Homes Act, Fitness for Human Habitation Act 2018 by benefiting from the Procedure Crime Act 2002, Section 76, Paragraph 4, operating without an HMO license. The criminal and rogue landlord lying through his teeth deny about the illegal tenancy agreement, which the room measured at 3.88, and invalid contract for 23 years from August the 16th, 1997 to October the 29th, 2020, which is no stretch like Pinocchio. Treat his tenant like human in-house cash point machine at the dwelling property of 87 Castle Road, Northolt, Ealing, UB5 4SF. Further said on his running commentary, October the 28th, 2020, the item in the property of 87 Castle Road are in excellent and very good conditions. Mr. Watson, the rogue landlord, been dubbed as Pinocchio, did not like the truthful evidence from the soon former tenant, interviewed by Mr. Mahmood, the Regulatory Service Officer from London Borough of Ealing Environmental Health Regulatory, for 20 minutes, explaining about the broom cupboard bedroom during the inspection and examination of the dwelling property at 87 Castle Road, Northolt, Ealing, UB5 4SF on the morning of October the 29th, 2020 at 11:20 a.m. The broom cupboard bedroom, which the tenant was offered by Brian John Watson, the landlord, which the tenancy agreement for 23 years, was declared illegal from the date of August 16, 1997, and the room measured at 3.88 because the criminal landlord had no proper HMO license, benefited from the Proceed of Crime Act 2002, Section 76, Paragraph 4, plotted to commit criminal act intentionally to obstruct the person authorized right to enter the premises of 87 Castle Road, Northolt, Ealing, UB5 4SF on Section 241 of the Housing Act 2004.